Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So I was thinking about making a video about JavaScript. So throughout this far in my channel, I haven't talked about JavaScript much. I think I have just one video where I made like a responsive menu. There I showed you a little bit of JavaScript. If you haven't checked that video out, you can it's going to be in the card. You can check that out, but I haven't really explained how JavaScript actually work in terms of making your website interactive. So I was thinking that I will create like a mini crash course type of JavaScript, especially just to show you how you can make your website interactive in terms of like DOM manipulation. It's not going to be as detailed as some of my other videos, but I just didn't want to like overwhelm you with lots of JavaScript, programming language, all those theories at the same time. I just wanted to, so you can think of this course as like a startup, okay? A starter course. All right, so let's start. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete all this script here. So I do have right now something on my HTML. So I have an H1 which has, it's calling that this is headline, and I have a class to the H1, and I have an image right here, and I have a button with the class btn. Simple, okay? So let's take a look at the folders, okay? So I have a index.html. I do not have CSS style file in today's video because we are not gonna do anything with CSS. But I do have a file that's called app.js. Now you can call this file anything. You can call this file script.js, javascript.js, or anything. But this .js is the extension to notate that this file is a JavaScript file. Now JavaScript, you can have an external file and that, but you can also use something called just like a style tag. And then you put all of your styles here in the same index.html. You can also do that with JavaScript. So you can just do like a script of this script tag. And here in the script tag, you will have all of your JavaScript here. But we prefer to use an external file, dedicated file for our JavaScript. Now, where do you link up? So you know how you CSS, if you have an external CSS file, you have to link your CSS file to your index by just saying link, right? Link, like this. I don't have any CSS, so I'm just gonna delete this. Same way, you have to do this with script, and this is gonna be script, and I will have a source that will say app.js. Okay, so this is a script tag. Don't worry, it has an opening and a closing tag, but don't worry about putting anything here. I'm just going to have a source attribute with app.js that will directly connect with my app.js file here. Now this is important. Where do you position your script tag? So right now I'm positioning my script tag at the very bottom, just before our closing body tag. There's a reason for it. The reason is I want the browser. So browser actually loads the page from top to bottom. Okay, so it's going to see the HTML first right now, and then it's going to render all the HTML I have, and then it's gonna come down to this part, line 16, and then it's gonna say, oh, they have a script, so I wouldn't have to download this app.js file to it. So the point is that when a viewer or user of your website is looking at your website and they're opening the website for the first time, they don't have to wait for this file to download. Okay, they can see what's going on, what this website is about. All the HTML is going to be loaded first, and then if you have any script or interactivity, that will happen at the end. Now if you call the script at the very in the head, then the browser is going to download the script first, and then is going to load the HTML. So it is always best practice to have your script tag at the very bottom. You can also have something called defer as an attribute if you save this. Async, or you can also have, let's say, async. I personally prefer defer, and you can read more about script async and script defer. I will have this link in the description. Script defer, what it does is defer downloads the file during HTML parsing and will only execute it after the parser has completed. Defer scripts are also guaranteed to execute in the order that they appear in the document. It's just making sure that your HTML gets rendered first than any script. Okay, that's all you have to know here. So you are going to put the script tag with the source attribute, which will have your external file location app.js. Okay, now let's go to our script file. And I also have a to-do list right here. So I'm gonna go with this to-do here. The first thing, how to comment in JS file. Before I do that though, I have to do a verification. The verification is whether my file is truly connected with this HTML. I want to check that. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say alert and parentheses. Alert is a function. If I hover over it, you can see that this is a function. The browser actually has this function, okay, already. So you can just say alert and then open parentheses. And in this parentheses, have a quotation mark, and in this quotation mark I'm just gonna say working. All right, so if I save this page, there should be an alert from the browser if everything is working correctly. If my app.js is connected with this index.html, then this alert should work saying it's working. So let's go ahead and control save, and there we go. That means my file, index file, is connected without any issues. I just want to do this at the very beginning before writing any code, just to make sure that my file is connected in the first place. All right, now I can go back to the to-do list and see. Okay, the first thing is how to comment in JS. All right, the first there's two types of comment in JS you can do. The first one is a single line comment, and the second one is a multi-line comment. The let's talk about single line comment. Single line comment is // and this is a single line comment. There you go. If you write anything in a new line, that's not going to be commented because it is a single line comment, only works on the same line. // If you want to put something in the multi-line, then it's the same style as you used in CSS. So you're going to say /* and then * / to close it. And in between here, you can put this is a multi-line comments. All right, comment, whatever. So you the multi-line comment is actually the same as CSS, but single line comment is just //. So this is how you comment in your JS app. All right, this is done. Variable, we're going to talk about variable next, but first let's set our goal. So goal right now is grab the headline and make it blue with button click. Okay, so this is my goal. This is what I want to do. So what I'm trying to do here is, this is the headline, right? So first, through JavaScript, via JavaScript, I'm going to grab the headline and I'm going to make it blue. That means I'll give it a style of color blue when I click here, okay, with the button click. So here is a button says click me. So if I click here, this headline should turn into blue. That's my goal. And you know that if you want to make something blue, you can just grab the H1 and then just set the color style to blue. But I want to make my website interactive. I want my viewers or your audiences click on the button and make that style. So that makes the website a little bit interactive. Okay, let's see how I can do this. First, I'm going to grab the headline. My CSS, I can just write H1 and then open curly braces, and I can write my styles here. In JavaScript, it's going to be a little different. So the first thing I'm going to write to grab this headline, I'm going to write document. Okay, now this document is referring to, if you go to an index, if you go up, you see that this is a doc type. So this is a document type HTML. So that's what it's basically saying. It's a get to the HTML page, which is a document. The first thing you have to say document, and then dot. So I want to do something on that document. That's basically the dot is. Okay, so get into the document, and from that document, I want something. So this is kind of like a from. All right, this dot. So document dot, I can say get elements by tag name, and then open parentheses. You see, this is a get elements by tag name is available in app.js. So it's very verbose. It's basically telling you what its purpose is. Its purpose is to get the elements by tag name. So here h1 is an element and the tag name is h1. So I can, in the parentheses, in the quotation, I can say h1. And that's how you are grabbing h1 from the document. So you can do get elements by tag name. You can also do get elements by class name. You can also do get elements by ID name. Now, when you say get elements by class name, then you have to go back to index. The class on the h1 is actually headline, so you have to change h1 to headline, and it's going to work. So you can also do get elements by ID as well if you have an ID instead of a class. Okay. Now, look at that. Look at this sentence here. Get elements by class name. Now, there's something different. Is look at the like uppercase. It's not uppercase. It's not lowercase. It's not sentence case either, because it is starting with smaller letters. So this is what when you write something in JavaScript, JavaScript accepts it's called a camel case. So this is how camel case you're gonna write. So the first word you're gonna write is all going to be small letters. Okay, so it's gonna be get, so all in small letters, and then the next word is elements. So the next word is actually going to be in sentence case. So the first letter will be capitalized and everything will be small. So get is one word, elements is the second word, and then the third word is going to be by, which again is going to be capital, and then everything else is going to be small. And then the fourth letter is going to be class name. So again, C would be capital, everything else would be small. And then the last word is name. So N will be capital and E would be all small. So this is this type of writing called camel case. And this is what JavaScript accepts. There is another way you can select your targets, and that's what I prefer. Now, it is there's nothing wrong with using get elements by tag name or get elements by class name or ID. I just prefer query selector. So when you say query selector, you don't have to specify here class or ID or tag. You just say document.querySelector, and then S would be capital, is a camel case. And then here in the quotation mark, you are going to just write the class name or ID name or tag name just as you write in your CSS. So if you are trying to grab h1 by its class name, you are going to do dot and then headline, just like you would do in CSS file. If you just want it with ID, you're going to do ID just like this, if it had an ID of headline. Or if you just want it to use just a tag name, you can just do that as well. So document query selector and then whatever you like here. So right now I just want is this one by tag name, which is going to be h1. All right. So this is how you are going to grab this thing. Now there is a concept of variable, and we're going to talk about variable now. Concept of variable in JavaScript or any programming language. Now, variable is like, think of if you've done mathematics, there is in an algebra, there is a variable that we always use, right? We just say like, okay, let x is a variable and we give it some value, right? And then y is another variable and we will give another, some value to y, and then we can just sum it up like, like x plus y or something like that. So we have variables in mathematics. We also have variables in programming language. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to create a variable. Now, in mathematics, we can create x, y, z, whatever variable. So here in the coding world also, the variable name, you can do whatever you like. But we want to create a variable that makes sense. Because if you just do x, it does not actually tells, or by seeing this x, you can't tell what is this x doing? What is this variable x meant to grab or meant for? So that's why you want to create a variable that has some meanings. It's kind of like semantic HTML. You want to know the tag name or element of what it's doing. So you are going to put headline. So that is headline because I'm trying to grab a headline here. So I'm creating a variable headline. Now, for creating a variable, if I write something headline, the JavaScript engine is not gonna understand nothing. Like, okay, what do you mean headline? You just wrote a word. So I have to tell the JavaScript engine is that, hey, this should be a variable. So this is how you create a variable. So before writing headline, at first you are going to put the word var. Okay, so var is short for variable, and also we are going to tell the JavaScript engine that, hey, I am trying to create a variable name headline. Okay, makes sense? All right, now var has some limitations, and it's old, newer version available right now, which you should use because var actually has some limitations. So we are not going to use var. What we're going to use here right now is called const. So const refers as constant. Constant is same thing, it just creates a variable for you, and const basically means that this variable's whatever value that I'm going to assign to this variable should not change. It should remain const. There's another way you can declare a variable by saying let. So I can also do this, like let headline, and let is not a constant, meaning that the headline value can change. I can reassign a new value to headline, but const value should not change. All right. So I have declared a variable right here. So const headline. Now I want to assign something. I'm going to do is I'm going to do an equal sign, and I am going to just copy this and put it right here. Now what's happening here? This equal sign is not same as your mathematic equal sign, because mathematic equal sign is basically it's for equality, like your right hand side is equal of value for your left hand side. Here the equal sign in coding is actually mean an assigned operator. That means that I am assigning all this there is on the right hand side to the variable that is on the left hand side here. So that's how you create or declare a variable and assign something to it. All right. Okay. Let's go back to our to-do. What is variable? We explained that. Now, how to declare a variable, we explained that as well. How to grab items from HTML documents, yes, we did that. Now let's go ahead and grab another. So we right now we need this headline because we want to make it blue, but we also need the button here, click me, because we want to click here and then change the color to blue. So let's go ahead and grab that button as well. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say const, and I'm just going to call it a button, okay, and then equal assignment operator here, which is an equal sign, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say document dot query selector, open parentheses, and here quotation, and I know that there is a class button class btn. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a dot and just grab that class and end that with semicolon right here. And if I save, now I have JavaScript has access to this is headline and also the button here. Write this event right here, which is called onClick, and think about it is as an attribute, which is basically going to be like onClick equal something. The click, I want to tell JavaScript to do something, to perform an action. Okay, to do a function, and that's exactly what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function that's going to tell the JavaScript, hey, you should make that headline blue. Okay, so I'm creating a function and I'm adding the attribute on click, which is an event, JavaScript event, and on click equals to, and I'm going to say that function name here. So basically it's going to say that, hey, on click perform this function. All right, so let's create a function. I'm going to say function. Okay, that's the keyword for function. And I'm going to give it a name. So since it's a click, I can just give it name anything I want. So I'm going to just say handle click. And I'm just going to, I'm just going to go ahead and do camel case here as well. And after that, I'm going to use a parentheses and then curly braces. So this is how you write an expression for a function expression. So you write function, and then you name the function, and the function is handle click, and you can give it any name, and then open up parentheses and then curly braces. So everything that this function needs to do, I will write in here in between these parentheses. Okay, now this name handle click parentheses should go on this on click here. So I'm gonna say handle. In fact, I'm gonna copy this and put it right here in the quotation. I'm going to say on click equals to handle click, and also have to make sure that I include that parentheses. So that parentheses is a kind of like a turn on switch. So once you say the handle click is basically the name of the function, and then with this parentheses, I'm saying, hey, invoke that function, actually turn on that function. Okay, so I have on-click attribute equals quotation, the name of the function, and then parentheses to invoke that function. All right, so let's go ahead and decide what this function needs to do. So I have a function handle click. I want to make this, once the button got clicked, I want to make this headline, so this headline right here, I want to make its color to blue. So I have the headline variable that has this document.select query selector h1. So I'm gonna say headline here, okay, and then say, okay, I have the headline. From that headline, I want to get the style dot color, because that's what I want to change. So once I say headline, that's I'm getting from my variable that I created, which has the document query selector h1, this element right here, creating a dot and then style. So I'm actually getting a style property from this element, from this document. And also from the style, I'm getting a color property. And I want to do equal, I want to assign that color property to blue. Okay. And then end this with semicolon. So if I save this and index it save, now let's go back to HTML and see if it works. So if I click me, there you go. This is a headline is now color blue, and we haven't used any CSS at all. Everything is done here through JavaScript. So another recap. So the first thing, I add the attribute to the button with the keyword one on click, which is an event. Okay, event equals, and then the function name, and this is the function. Okay, handle click, and I turn it on with the parentheses, handle click parentheses, and here is function handle click, turn it on switch, and then curly braces. And here I am grabbing the headline, this element. And from that element, I am grabbing the style property. And from style property, I want to access the color property. And then I want to set the color with equal and in quotation, the color blue. There's another way you can do this without saying on click, handle click here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Save, and now you can see it doesn't work. This is another way you can work. So I'm going to comment this one right here now. And here, what I'm going to do is I do have this button here, access to it. So from this JavaScript, so that I don't have to go back to my HTML and find that on-click event and attach with this button, I can do all these things in JavaScript. And this is how I'm going to do it. Since I have the access to button, I'm going to say button here, and that is the button right here, click me. And from here, I'm going to say add event listener. Basically, in that button, I'm adding an event listener. The event listener was on click, so I'm adding an event listener. Now, what are JavaScript events? Okay, if we go to w3schools.com, we can see some JavaScript common HTML events. Okay, so on change, on click, on mouse over, on mouse out, on key down, on load, you can see actually a whole bunch of lists here. These are all events. Okay, so basically through button, that's what I'm doing, and add event listener. And here I'm going to open a parenthesis here, and in quotation I want to write the event that I want to list. I want this button to listen to, and that is going to be, it was on click. Now here you're just gonna put click, because the actual event is the click, and the attribute for JavaScript event attribute is on click, because you are basically saying that on click on this element do something. Here though, you're just trying to listen for the click itself, which is just a click, right? So button dot add event listener, you're gonna say click here with the quotation, then comma, then you can write the function here. And this time, I actually don't need any name for this function, because I'm not calling that function anywhere else, right? I am doing everything here. I'm, grabbing the button, adding the event listener, and then I'm just invoking a function right from here. I don't need a name for the function. So I can just skip the name, and I can just say function, and then parentheses, and then open the curly braces right here, semicolon at the end. So here, this function, I created the function, but it does not have any name. So a function that does not have any name is called anonymous function. Okay. So button.add event listener, it's gonna listen for this click event, comma, then I created a function, and I'm gonna do the same exact thing. Look at that. Copy paste. I'm gonna get the headline dot style dot color and blue, and save this. Now see if that works. So if I click me, it works just fine. So this is another way you can do it. Now you can also, there's nothing wrong with working with on-click event, HTML event, but you can also do this. There's two ways you can actually add the event to the element. Okay, let's do something else. So we have click event. We also have something called mouse over event. So let's do something with this picture. So in fact, let's get rid of this code altogether, and then get const this image. I'm going to say image equals to document dot query selector, and in there I'm going to say image. So just get that image tag here. So I'm gonna create the function. I'm gonna grab this image dot add event listener. So I'm gonna add the event listener to this image, and this is going to listen for an event that called mouse over. Okay, so whenever I put my mouse, the cursor goes over this image, it's gonna do something. Okay, so I'm going to say comma, I'm going to create a function that's also going to be an anonymous function, and curly braces. So here, what I want to do is I'm going to say this, I'm going to use this keyword. Now this keyword it might be a very confusing for now. I'm not going to explain this keyword right now. Just know that this basically means this image right here. So this basically means the object it's referring to. So this dot, so I want to change this image here, style dot, there is something called filter CSS that can change if you want to have like a sepia effect or grayscale effect. That's what I'm going to do. So I want to do this so this image right here that is belong to, and get the style, get the filter from the style, and change this, it's going to be quotation, to grayscale, and parentheses. In this parentheses I want to say 100%. That's what I want to do with the mouse over. Now I save this. Let's see if it works. It does work. So if you mouse over this, then it is now grayscale. Now I can do the same thing and just copy this, and here I can just do mouse over, but I want to do mouse out. If I save this, it needs to be 0%, so save, and then look at that. If you mouse your cursor in, then it's a grayscale 100%. If you cursor out, then it is normal. So you can do a lot of stuff. Dig into all the events, mouse over, mouse out. You can do a lot of stuff, so definitely worth checking out. We are going to put all this that we learn and try to work on a to-do app, and it's going to be the simplest form of to-do app. So let me go ahead and delete all this, save this so it's all gone, and I'm going to just create a to-do app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a form. I don't need this action, and then inside this form I'm going to say label, and for label I'm going to just say it's going to be for new to do, and I'm going to say add to do, and here I'll have an input type text. I'm going to have a placeholder. It's going to say new to do. I will also have another input, and this type is actually going to be submit, and here I'm actually going to say value to submit. Save. There you go. So I have an add to do, and I have input type text where I can add something, and then submit. All right, next thing what I'm going to do after this form, I'm going to have a div. I'm just going to create a div here, and I'm going to give this a class with display lists. Okay, so I get this, or let's just say display section. Okay, so I have a form. It's real simple. Here I can put the div, the to do, and then I can submit this, and the goal is so that it's gonna appear somewhere right here, and these are all going to be dynamically created by JavaScript. So I'm not gonna have anything inside this div in my HTML. I'm gonna create all this list through my to do, through my inputs, through JavaScript. Okay, that's the goal. So let's go ahead and do this. Save, and let's go to app. Here I am going to delete all this, and the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a const, and I'm gonna get hold of this input value. So I'm gonna say here I'm gonna just name it input equal. I'm gonna say document dot query selector, and then in parentheses, let me see if I did give input. I have not, so I'm going to go ahead and give this input an ID of input, and here quotation hash or pound, I'm going to say input. So I have this input here. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to say const the submit. I'm say submit button equals query selector, and then here I believe I did not give anything here, so I'm going to give an ID here as well. I'm going to say submit, same thing, submit button, and here is going to be pound or hash submit. So I have access through this input variable to the input here, and then also I have access to the submit button of this input type submit right here. So the first thing what I'm going to do is, let's think about it. I want to create a function that will have this value, whatever I write here, okay, and put it in some sort of list here in the div that I have. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an event listener so that once I click on here, it does something. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do submit button, and then I'm going to add an event listener, and that event listener is quotation is going to be click, because I want, when it's click, I want it to like add the list here in the div. So I'm going to say here is going to be click, and then comma, and then I'm going to create a function, and this is also going to be an anonymous function because I don't need a name, because I'm not calling that function anywhere else here. So right now I do have access to both input and submit button. And now let's create another variable, and that's gonna be a value now. And value basically means, let's do input. In fact, let's do input value. And input value is actually going to be just input dot value. So what I'm basically trying to do, not value, input value. So what I'm basically trying to do is I'm trying to get whatever I'm putting right here and store that into this variable input value. So if I write something like something, and when I click here submit, it should store in this input value. So let me see if I do alert, and then just alert with this variable, see if it alerts with me with the writing that I'm writing here. So I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna say see if it's working, and if I click submit, there you go. It gives me an alert, see if it's working. So it is good. So I'm actually getting the input value from the input here. Next up is I'm going to get rid of this alert, and I'm going to try something. So you see that if I submit here, the page actually refreshes, and I will try to get rid of that refresh. So what I'm going to do is I'm in the function, in the parentheses, I'm going to add an event argument. So this event is basically the window has an event that is trying to submit, is trying to send that whatever I'm submitting to like a server. And that's not happening. We don't have any server, so that's why I don't want that event to happen. So basically that's a default action. So I'm going to go ahead and put that event argument and use this event argument right here, event dot prevent default. So that's the method I'm going to use. I'm going to call this and save this. And now you see that it doesn't matter how many times I press submit, it does not refresh. All right. For event, you can also use just E for short. There you go, save it, and it's gonna work the same way. All right, so I have the value that I wanted, and I stored it in the variable. Now I want that value to appear in the div. So the goal is to create in the div unordered list like this, okay? And each list will have the item that I put here. That's the goal. Now I'm going to create all this with JavaScript. Now this is how you're going to create with JavaScript is first I am going to grab that div first, display section. So I'm going to go ahead and create a variable here. I'm going to call this display section equal same thing, document dot query selector, and we are gonna get this class here. So I have access to the div right now. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the UL. Okay, so first I'm gonna say list container. Let's just give it a name of list container on ordered list, right? So list container is gonna do, again, I want a document, and this time on that document I want to use create element. So I can actually create HTML element through JavaScript. So I want to create first is UL, that is the container for the list. So document.createElement, in parentheses, in quotation, I'm going to say what element I want to create. I want to create UL. Okay? Semicolon. And then also I want to create list items, and that would be the individual list. So again, I want to create element, and that would be parenthesis li. All right, now I have created an UL, I have created an li, and I have grabbed the access to the div. Now all I have to do is I have to attach, I have to put this li inside of UL, and then I have to put this UL inside of this div manually. So this is what I'm going to do is I am going to here I am going to do first display section, and then here display section dot append child, and here in the parentheses I'm going to say list container, it should be the child of display section. All right, and then list container append child, append child should be list items. So list item should be this container's child, and then list items dot text content. So list item shall have a text content. That means I want to write something in that list. I want to write the value and put it in the list, right? So list items dot text content equals, that should be the input value. So whatever I write, it should be in that list once I click on that submit, and see if I did any mistake. Let's take a look. So if I write whatever, something, submit, there you go, I have the list right here. If I write something else, creative, right? Submit, there you go, submit else. So I have a to-do app right here working. Now I want to make it a little better. So let's see if I have, it's not clearing the form. So every time I have to like let's say ocean and then enter, and it's coming here, but the ocean is still there. I want, once I submit, I want the input to be cleared, to be empty. So I can easily do that by just taking this input.value and reassigning it to empty string. So it's again going to be top to bottom. So when I click here, the function is going to create a variable input value that's going to get the value from the input, and then it's going to create the list items each time, and then it's going to append, and then list item would be the text content would be input value, and when it's done, it's going to make that input value empty. So if I save this, let's do something else. Buy milk. Look at that. If I do this now, this empty list went back to an empty string. That means nothing is there. By, let's say, eggs. There you go. Now there's still one more problem. The problem is if there's nothing here, but if I click submit, you see that it's still creating a bunch of lists without anything being there. So that's a bug. Now this is basically, I can solve this bug by creating something called condition. Now condition is very powerful in JavaScript, okay? So condition is something you want to do. Condition is like you say if and else, right? This is basically a condition. If something happens, do this, else do that, okay? This is exactly how it works. And I'm going to refresh this to get rid of this. So this is what I'm basically going to say. If so do all this, or do all this here, right here, if the input value is not equal to an empty string, and create curly braces, and I have put all the codes in here in this condition. So lot to explain here. First thing, what I'm going to do, I'm writing if, and I'm opening a parenthesis. And in that parenthesis, I'm specifying what should be the condition, okay? So the condition, I'm saying that, hey, if input value right here, if this is empty, then don't add anything. That's exactly what I'm saying. Then don't worry about appending the list container, the UL or LI, and just get the input value. Don't worry about anything. Don't do anything if it's empty, okay? But if it's not empty, and that's exactly what I'm referring here. So this one might be new to you. These are operation assignments. So like I said, in coding world, equal is an assignment operator. So what is equal in coding? So equal is actually double equals, or if you want to do like more specific, that is going to be triple equals. Okay, so double equals is actually equal, and triple equals is like specific. It has to be actually equal the type of the variables and the value of the variables. Then it should be triple equals. And then not equal is something like this. You do exclamation and then you do equal. All right. So this is basically meaning that if it's not an empty string, it's not equal to an empty string. That's what all it's saying. If it's not an empty string, so there is something here, then you create the div and the list and then add the input value to the text content. And then you go ahead and then get rid of everything once it's done. So if I save this and if I do it again, buy milk, and then enter, you see right now it's working. Now if I enter again, not working. If I do submit again, nothing's happening. All right, so this has been a to-do app, a very, very low-level explanation of JavaScript. You can do a lot with JavaScript. There are primitive, like types of value or variables. There's a superb website to learn programming. It's called freecodecamp.org. You probably know this, but if you don't, then definitely check out freecodecamp.org. I will also give this link to the description, and you can learn. I highly recommend that because they have like a curriculum, just like a boot camp, just like in school. They have a curriculum where you can actually learn JavaScript and Python, I believe, from the scratch, and they have their own integrated coding editor where you can actually practice. So dive into the ones that I just show you right now. There are you need to practice this. You need to like implement all these variables, the if statement, look into it, search Google, and then see what if a conditional statement is, see what a function expression is, look for like how you can create a loop. So there are so many things that need to be in a video, in a larger format video, not in a crash course. So if you like today's video, please give me a like, let me know in the comment section, and I will definitely keep in mind to make a modern JavaScript video series, and it's coming. So if you like the sound of it, please consider subscribing. So all right, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.